Turn the Governor to Government House, 1996 to 2011. It was a long campaign. Part 1, planning the eviction, the Premier and the press. In 1995 and 1996, the eviction was planned by the Premier in conjunction with the press. The ACM campaign can be found on the website www.norepublic.com.au. This is a website which has attracted in the last year a large number of hits and page views, over 3 million. And there you'll find the Return the Governor collection with 19 reports, including 2 video interviews with the Reverend Fred Nile, and you can download a brochure, Return the Governor. The reasons for our opposition to the eviction of the governors and the purpose of the campaign is to reverse the state government's power grab, to stop their waste, and to reverse their insult to country New South Wales. It all began in 1993 when John Fay informed a surprised Liberal Council of New South Wales that a republic was inevitable. But he said, the position of the governor won't change, which is rather extraordinary given that the governor is the representative of the Australian Crown in New South Wales. But the real beginning was by the Honourable Bob Carr, Premier of New South Wales, in 1995. And it was during the role of, or the period that the Rear Admiral Peter Sinclair, the 35th Governor, was in office. It began with Mr. Carr introducing legislation to remove the ministerial oath of allegiance to the Queen, which had been previously sworn by all of the ministers, including Mr. Carr. This was followed by a poll in the Sydney Morning Herald about the governor. Who is this man and what does he do? And as with later campaigns against vice-regal persons in Australia, the media plays a game where they don't give much publicity to the governor, then they run a poll, and there's a surprise that not everybody can name the governor or the governor-general. And in this poll, 28% could name the governor, but strangely 58% wanted the governors removed from New South Wales. Well, was this the Fourth Estate doing its duty, being at arm's length from the government, doing what the Times said in 1851, exercising its first duty, that is obtaining the earliest and most correct intelligence of the events of the time, and instantly by disclosing them, making them the common property of the nation? Or was the Sydney Morning Herald being just a toady, doing the government's bidding, a sort of Pravda of the South? Well, we learned later that lunching in the Governor Macquarie Tower, where the Premier has his office, the Premier wrote, we, that is the Premier and the Sydney Morning Herald editor, looked out of his office over Government House and speculated about Government House being returned to the public. Now that's a curious statement. Returned to the public? Government House was always built as a purpose-built home and domain for the governor, to give the governor that independence that the governor needed to exercise all of his functions. It was never built as a public museum. To talk about it being returned to the public is misleading. The Premier and the editor of the Sydney Morning Herald, Mr. John Alexander, not the Member of Parliament, the Member of the Federal Parliament, discussed the whole question of the governor and his job. Bob Carr says, I think I suggested they do a poll. Now this was a lunch before that poll appeared in the Sydney Morning Herald. And this was because, Mr. Carr says, I thought it would feed into my plan. So here we have the Premier and the journal of record in New South Wales, the Sydney Morning Herald, its editor, talking about the oldest public office in Australia, the one which provides leadership beyond politics. And soon after the poll, the Herald and so-called government sources began a campaign to ridicule the governor, Admiral Sinclair, and their principal weapon was to label him the Chief Boy Scout, the Chief Boy Scout of New South Wales. This, the central office in the constitutional system, one of the checks and balances in the governmental system, the oldest public office in New South Wales, a Chief Boy Scout. Well, why did Mr. Carr evict the governor? Why are they still keeping her out of her purpose-built home, Government House? After all, the governors in every other state live in their government houses. No other state has followed New South Wales. Even Richard Butler in Tasmania remained in Government House. Well, Mr. Carr said, we've got to return the house to the people. Return the house? He said it was to reduce costs. It was to reduce pomp. The governor would be part-time. He'd be closer to the people, how he would if he were part-time. And public access to Government House would be increased. But then he revealed another reason. When he retired, much later when he retired,